Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into a really sensitive and often controversial topic, but we're going to look at it from a completely different angle. We're going to explore an explanation that has nothing to do with purity and everything to do with the body's own energy system. Let's get into it.
So, you've probably heard some version of this before, right? It's a pretty common belief, and let's be honest, it's a huge point of contention. For a lot of people, it just feels outdated and wrong. And this is usually where the conversation starts, and unfortunately, where it often just ends.
But hang on a second. What if the original reason, the one from way back, had absolutely nothing to do with being pure or impure? What if the real logic got lost or twisted over time, leaving behind only this controversial interpretation we have today? Okay, so let's unpack this. We're going to explore a completely different take on this, one that's rooted not in social rules, but in the physics of the body's own energy as understood in ancient sciences like yoga and Ayurveda.
And this right here is the pivot. This is where we reframe the entire conversation. On one side, you have the common belief, which is all about impurity. But on the other, you have this yogic explanation, which is about, well, energy dynamics. It's a massive shift in thinking, and that's exactly what we're going to explore.
So to really get this energy-based idea, we need to understand a core concept from yogic science. So let's talk about something called prana. You can think of prana as your body's vital life force. It's like the electricity running through your house, powering everything. This is the subtle energy that flows through us, governing everything from our breathing and digestion to our thoughts. It's the invisible current that keeps us alive and going.
Now, this life force isn't just one big blob of energy. It's actually categorized into 5 main types or currents called vayus, and each one has a very specific job and flows in a specific direction. But for what we're talking about today, there's one we really need to zoom in on. And that one is called apana prana. This is the energy current that's active in the lower part of your body, in your pelvic region. Its natural, healthy direction is downwards, and its job is to manage all the processes of release and cleansing, and that of course includes menstruation.
Okay, so we've established that menstruation is driven by a strong downward flowing energy. So what happens when that natural downward flow meets the kind of energy you find in a temple or during deep spiritual practice? This is where we get to the heart of the matter.
All right. Let's just walk through this logically. Step 1. During menstruation, your body's apana prana is in high gear, flowing powerfully downwards to cleanse the system. Now, step 2. Think about what you're doing in a temple or during meditation. Most of these practices are specifically designed to do the exact opposite, to raise your energy upwards toward higher centers of consciousness or chakras. So, you see the problem, right? You get an energetic tug of war. The upward pull of the spiritual practice can literally interfere with the body's essential downward-flowing job.
So, when you look at it this way, the advice to rest and avoid these spaces isn't a judgment. It's not about being unworthy. It's actually more like a prescription for your energetic health. The whole idea is to give the body the time and space it needs to complete its natural cleansing cycle without any obstruction. You're just letting the apana do its thing. Now, if you're thinking, okay, that's a nice, modern reinterpretation, well, hold that thought, because there's a really powerful, ancient example that suggests this energy-based view has been around for a very long time. Let's talk about the Kamakhya temple.
This is incredible. The Kamakhya temple in Assam is one of the most powerful sites of goddess worship in the world. And what's so unique is that the main festival there actually celebrates the goddess's annual menstruation. During that time, the temple is closed for 3 days, not because of impurity, but out of reverence and respect for this divine creative cycle. This completely flips the script on the idea of impurity and shows a tradition where the menstrual cycle is actually considered sacred.
So what's the bottom line here? What are the big takeaways from looking at this through a new lens? Let's bring it all together.
So to recap, the reframed view is this. The restriction isn't based on a social rule about being clean or unclean, but on yogic principles of how energy works. The whole thing centers on this conflict between the downward flow of apana prana and the upward pull of spiritual energy. And the goal is simply to protect a natural and necessary bodily function. So we're essentially changing the vocabulary from impurity to energetic interference. It's a totally different conversation.
And that really leaves us with a final big question to think about. How does our perception of a tradition change when we try to understand its original context? When we dig past the modern interpretations and look for the energetic or scientific reasoning behind it, does it transform how we see things that might otherwise seem outdated? It's a really powerful way to look at the world around us. Thanks for joining me.